When Cha Eun-woo enlisted for his mandatory military service, many expected a smooth journey for the K-drama heartthrob. With his dazzling visuals, calm demeanor, and impeccable public image, it seemed like he'd handle it all with grace. But behind the perfect photos and controlled media appearances lies a reality far more human and far more painful. This is the story of the struggles behind the uniform. The hardest military moments Cha Eun-woo has faced so far, and how even someone as admired as him is not immune to the emotional weight of serving. Let's go back to the beginning. On March 18, 2024, fans gathered at the military training center as Cha Eun-woo quietly entered service. There was no grand fanfare, no emotional farewell press conference. Just a solemn goodbye, a few waves, and then silence. For someone as globally beloved as Cha Eun-woo, this silence spoke volumes. It wasn't about avoiding the spotlight. It was about preparing for the storm he knew was coming. The early days were the hardest. Military insiders say Eun-woo struggled during the first few weeks of basic training. Adjusting from a glamorous celebrity lifestyle to a rigid, no-excuse regimen was a shock. Cold morning wake-ups, intense physical drills, and strict rules replaced the red carpets and rehearsals he was used to. One report from a fellow trainee mentioned that Cha Eun-woo barely spoke during the first week. He kept his head down, followed every command, and rarely smiled. It wasn't pride or aloofness, it was the weight of transition. Imagine going from thousands of adoring fans screaming your name to sleeping in a cold bunk with strangers who know you only as Private Lee. That's the dual life Cha Eun-woo had to face, celebrity outside, soldier inside. But the emotional toll ran deeper. Sources close to his agency revealed that Eun-woo had been battling waves of anxiety before enlisting. Not because he didn't want to serve, but because he was afraid of what he might miss. His momentum as an actor and idol had never been stronger. And just when the world was watching him with wider eyes, he had to disappear. What's worse, he carried guilt. Guilt about leaving fans behind. Guilt about putting projects on hold. And a quiet sadness that haunted him, especially when he received letters from fans saying, "We'll wait for you," or "Please come back healthy." Every time he read those words, it strengthened him. But it also reminded him of what he left behind. Then came a more silent struggle, loneliness. Yes, soldiers train side by side, eat together, sleep in the same quarters. But being surrounded doesn't mean being understood. Fellow trainees noted that even though Eun-woo was kind and respectful, he often wandered off during breaks. Not to be alone, but to breathe, to think, to process. He missed his family. He missed his members from ASTRO. And though he never admitted it publicly, insiders believe he deeply missed someone else too, Moon Jae-young. Remember, before enlisting, Eun-woo and Jae-young were rumored to be closer than ever. Their undeniable chemistry on screen had fans convinced there was something more, and their quiet interactions off-screen hinted at a deeper bond. It's said that Jae-young wrote him letters, short ones, encouraging ones, but enough to make Eun-woo's eyes tear up during downtime. These were the letters he kept hidden in his uniform pocket, and on the hardest days, he'd read them again. But even with moments of comfort, hardship remained. As time passed, Cha Eun-woo's body started to feel the weight of the training. His hands, once used to holding scripts and microphones, now bore calluses from rifle training. His feet, used to polish stages, blistered during long marches. One particular incident that fans never knew about occurred during a night drill in his fourth week. Eun-woo collapsed from exhaustion during a long-distance run. He was not hospitalized, but he did receive special monitoring for the following days. Despite this, he insisted on returning to regular training as soon as possible, refusing to be treated differently just because of his fame. That's who he is, quietly enduring, privately hurting. But the challenges weren't just physical or emotional, they were internal too. One of the hardest things Cha Eun-woo had to face was confronting who he was without his fame. Without cameras, without styling, without scripts. In those moments of silence, many soldiers find clarity. And Eun-woo was no different. He reportedly kept a small journal during his service. In it, he wrote not about dramas or comebacks, but about dreams. Real dreams. The kind he never had time to explore while being caught in the K-pop machine. He questioned everything. Who is Eun-woo when he's not an idol? What kind of man does he want to be when he returns? And will the world still remember him after all this? Some nights, those questions overwhelmed him. And it's said that even the strongest, most composed idols have cried in the military. Eun-woo was no exception. But here's the twist. While he was struggling inside, the outside world was fiercely waiting for him. Every small update from the military base about Eun-woo, whether it was a blurry photo or a passing comment, sent fans into a frenzy. The love never stopped. And that love, according to one of his closest friends, was what kept him going. He didn't need headlines, the friend said. He just needed to know he wasn't forgotten. Now, as he approaches the midpoint of his service, Cha Eun-woo is stronger. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. He's mentoring younger trainees. He's leading drills. He's even smiled more often during official appearances. That same quiet boy who kept to himself now walks with his head higher. It's still not easy. The battles aren't over. But he's learning, growing, healing. This is why his story matters, because it reminds us that behind the perfect image is a man. A man who struggles, falls, questions, and gets back up. A man who chose to serve even when he didn't have to. A man who walks through pain, not for glory, but because it's the right thing to do. So when Cha Eun-woo returns, don't just welcome the idol back. Welcome the man who survived behind the uniform.